Standpoint. The center of all talks of politics.
Standpoint, Monday to Friday, 10 a.m. on Rapid 96.5 FM, Umahia.
All Nigerian is more Nigerian than any Nigerian. That's right.
It is Rapid 96.5 FM, the sound of your city. And of course, it is the third day of the month of July, the year of our Lord 2023. Happy new month, and thanks for staying tuned to the array of programs on the sound of your city, Rapid 96.5 FM. I am Nkamiang John, the beloved, also known as the controversial, and it's a special focus edition of Standpoint, and we will be reviewing the big stories that occurred during the first half of the year, that is from January to the month of June 2023, but with special bias for the lessons of the 2023 general elections, the country's new presidency, leadership of the National Assembly, the ongoing election petition tribunals over the outcome of the 2023 general elections, and of course the task ahead for the new administration, both at the state and federal levels. Now, my guests this morning are Eric Ikwagu, a chieftain of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, and we are expecting our second guest, a public affairs analyst, and of course, both of them friends of the house, Kelechi Imo. We hope that he will join us shortly. Word coming in is that he's on his way. Okay, so good morning, Eric, at least while we wait for Kelechi to join us.
Good morning, Abias. Thank you for having me.
And nice to have you join us on this edition special edition of Standpoint.
Thank you so much.
All right, now let's set the tone for this morning's conversation. The 2023 general elections in Nigeria were crucial as they offered the opportunity to strengthen the country's democracy and address various prevalent issues that have been worsening for years. But with Nigeria as a nation of many paradoxes, most people make decisions based on primordial sentiments of their connection to candidates, specifically through ethnic and tribal relations. For years, the Nigerian state based its ideology on the issue of religion, ethnicity, and we must restructure this notion away from our minds, because this trip will not take us anywhere, sadly. Nigeria, the largest democracy in Africa, conducted its presidential and National Assembly elections on February 25th, 2023, Governor and State Assembly elections on March 18, 2023. However, the outcome of the elections became highly controversial, resulting in outrage amongst the opposition and the general population. 18 political parties presented candidates for the presidential elections. Of the 18, 3 were the major contenders. Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the candidate of the All Progressive Congress, APC, who scored 9,794,726 votes and won 12 states. Atiku Abubakar, candidate of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, who scored 6,984,520 votes and won 12 states. And Peter Gregory Obi, candidate of the Labour Party, who scored 6,101,533 votes and won 11 states plus the Capital Federal Territory. Opposition parties have disputed the results since INEC announced the winner. Upsurge of Obi supporters called the Obedience and the Atiku Abubakar supporters known as the Articulants have challenged the results in court. Some Nigerians have lost confidence in the leadership of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, arguing that its words and promises to mean nothing to Nigerians. They emphasize that Professor Mahmood Yakubu has shown himself to be a disgrace to Nigeria and has brought shame, disgrace, and embarrassment to Nigerians in the global community. They accuse the Independent National Electoral Commission chairman and his team of national commissioners of compromising the result of the February 25th presidential election by deliberately refusing to upload the results at the polling units from the BVAS to the IREF. Nigerians were disappointed that the IREF, which could have made a difference if INEC diligently and creditably deployed it, failed because they did not use the instrument to upload the presidential election results from polling units as promised, except for the senatorial and House of Representative election. Others decried that Nigerians expected the 2023 general elections to usher in a much more improved and digitized electoral process. On this basis, INEC received an unprecedented sum of 355 billion naira to conduct a credible election. Despite the enormous financial commitment and the incredible support received from the international community and civil society organizations, INEC failed to deliver on a straightforward mandate of meeting the expectations of Nigerians. The aim of this morning's conversation is not to describe how INEC compromised elections or betrayed Nigerians and political parties. While there were numerous stories of unprofessionalism, rigging, and intimidation by Nigerians and INEC, our task is to identify the critical challenges that undermined and prevented a more efficient and effective election in 2023. In short, what were the essential failures during the general elections? I ask this question not to affect blame. However, I am trying to find the answers to identify systemic gaps and improve our preparedness for subsequent elections. We must move promptly to understand what went wrong and demand how to fix it. Once again, my guests are now complete in the studio. Kelechi, good morning. Thanks for making our time to join us. All right. So, gentlemen, let's start. So, let's start with the fundamental question. Let me start with you, Eric. You are of the People's Democratic Party. Your party is in court challenging the results of the 2023 presidential elections. What were the essential failures during the general elections?
Well, contrary to the general notion that the 2023 election was flawed, I will have to give some credit to INEC,
okay,
because it is an improvement from what it used to be. But what has confused a lot of persons is the transmission of results in real time. And if you are a follower, or if you had participated in that election, you would have understood that whatever you're going to transmit is already made available to your polling unit agent at that point. So whatever result you're looking for, you still have it. And I am worried if that could be said to be the determinant why we will all say the election was not credible enough.
Okay.
Like, let me give you this analysis. From my polling units, you have PDP agents and all the agents of the parties.
Various parties.
Of the party, yes. Once the result is announced at that point, you take a copy of the result yourself and the best one there so you can snap. So it is kind of checking the activities of INEC. So if you made sure that the polling unit officer uploads it in the BVAT. So I'm worried if that was not the case in all the polling units. Because if you're a vigilant party man, you should know your duties to your party and you should have assured that that was done. So for me in my polling unit, you can't be everywhere. So for me in my polling unit, I made sure that what was counted was snapped and uploaded, and I had a copy of my own
result sheet.
Copy of my result sheet. Now we followed through because I served as the local government agent for my party. So I made sure at the point of collation, I was already in custody of almost all the results from all the polling units. That is what an efficient party faithful should do. So I wouldn't now say that I will give every blame to INEC. There are blames to go around. There are security lapses here and there. There are issues here and there. But is it enough to generally say the election wasn't credible? I will say no. And I will not rely on what the report from the EU. I don't have this colonial mentality where we will all think that once they give their verdict, it is the finality.
It authenticates everything.
Yes, it doesn't. It doesn't, because I still wonder when America had their issues with Russia interference, how many Africans went there to monitor the elections and give verdict on the quality or standard of what they did. So I'm a pure African. I am proud of my roots, and I believe that our local content could solve our problems. We don't have to rely on foreign intervention at all times to tell us what we'll do here. You believe me that there is this so much sentiment embedded, infused in the 2023 general election. So it had a lot of effect on persons. There was religious issues, there were issues of tribe, there were suspicion too.
Well, I was going to come to all of that, but let me get Kelechi's reaction. Kelechi, you were very you participated effectively in the last election. In fact, you were one of our resource persons giving us field reports. You seem to disagree a bit with Eric's position with regards to the 2023 election.
No, I partially agree with him. I disagree with him totally, especially where he said he doesn't believe in this, what did he call it again? In this colonial mindset. Yes. Okay. Yeah, I think I agree with him. But by and large, 2023 election for me was not totally satisfactory. Especially if we should say, well, down here, we may say it was satisfactory.
Yeah, because the people seem to have gotten what they wanted.
Exactly. But generally, with what we were seeing results that were mutilated and all that, you can't tell me that was free and fair. Okay, and the major challenge in the 2023 election was that transmission of results. INEC was not able to, especially the presidential results, not any other result now, because it seems every other one was somehow okay, but the presidential was a lot of issues around it. But
isn't it that, gentlemen, isn't it that this we're basing this on sentiments, because there were a lot of anticipation of who should win, right? And so we are not being logical or objective in terms of looking at certain factors. One, the technology that we use is not local. I mean,
but it was developed locally.
It developed locally, but what about the infrastructure to ensure its effectiveness? I mean, we whether we like it or not, we must admit to the fact that we are a consumer nation. We hardly produce anything, whether it is in terms of technology or even in areas of human resource, which we have, explored in recent times. So, shouldn't these factors count for some of the failures or ineffectiveness on the part of INEC? And the eventual outcome of the elections in 2023?
Well, like Ikabu said, not just INEC, okay? Yes, I agree with you, the point you're trying to make. Also, we also have to blame the security agencies. Because if you hear what happened in Rivers State, for example, you will discover there were a lot of compromises here and there from what we saw on the social media. Why I'm a little bit restrained when we're talking about this is I know that a lot of parties are in court, so that no one accuses us of contempt of court. But the point I'm trying to make is this: 2023 general elections was generally, in my opinion, not satisfactory.
Eric, we play money politics. We try to evade it, but that's the politics we play. Like Kelechi mentioned, there seem to have been compromise in terms of security personnel in states like Rivers and other states across the country. But why do we tend not to tell ourselves the truth, the fact that we play money politics?
Well, I didn't think money politics played a huge role in the 2023 general election. I was giving my analysis based on the presidential election. I situated it just the presidential election. But Kelly here digressed a little bit and said that he got a satisfactory result in Abia State. He now find out that it is emotion that is in play here. While I might disagree with what happened in the governorship election, but what I'm saying is this. The parties like Peter Obi and Atiku, they're in court today, challenging. We can talk about it because we are not going to digress into the points of law. We are giving a general overview of what happened.
Yeah.
And Peter Obi is trying to really put it to the court that the transmission of results wasn't done, and all the screens he has brought so far to court is still to the point that this man said he was going to transmit results and he didn't do it. And I'm looking at the statutes, the provision in the electoral act that supported that. And I was worried he wasn't talking about overvoting. That is why I said, if you are an effective party official that worked on that day, you should be armed with your own polling unit result. And there is a certified true copy, which you go to INEC to authenticate, which is allowed in court, and you can be able to prove that what you have in the result sheet wasn't
transmitted.
Wasn't the result that emanated from polling units.
Okay.
Because I know that when it got to a particular point, it was doctored. Abia State is not in. We're in court challenging it. We know some local governments that brought out figures that in governorship election that wasn't what we had on ground. So we're in court. I'm not going to go into the details because I participated and I was surprised that coming from the polling units, it originated it. I had my situation room, well automated. I had a software that was giving me the returns. And when we tabulated what we had to what was finally produced, there was disparity. So the court should do that. And like I said the last time I came here, it's a process, okay, which we terminate. The courts are looking at those papers, they're going to sieve it. And I had expected Obi to be talking about overvoting in some places. And I had expected him to sue Atiku in his own petition, because there's no how. You came third and you're saying the election was rigged, okay, and you didn't petition Atiku that came second. So what will happen at the end of the day? And you cannot discount Obi's vote and Atiku's vote if it's not a part of your petition. So that is my worry too. And I'm wondering if the emotions that was so much infused and embedded in the 2023 election was anything to go by. We should still not forget that APC, PDP and Labour Party in that election was like a party that divided itself into two. Tinubu was just smart. He used his route to the presidency, dividing what would have been either the PDP or Labour Party route to winning. So when we situate these things, we will understand that we will start tuning down the way we think it was rigged, because the reality on the ground is this. We remove Rivers State, even if you say, because from the reports I got from Premium Times, sometimes some independent analysis, they said Obi had about a million votes in Rivers. So even if you add that 1 million votes to him, he's still not going to beat Tinubu. So we're looking at it, and he didn't make that case of overvoting. Okay, and for you to even establish the case of non-compliance in that kind of election, it is very difficult, because you will bring results polling unit by polling unit. So I was thinking he will have, limited this into some very this one of this guy, what's it called? Obiakpo local government. Okay, I expected them to limit their decision to overvoting and not non-compliance. I would have expected to be on overvoting, because when you scratch very well, you will dig off some fat. And then the repercussion for that overvoting would have been outright conciliation.
Yeah.
So is he trying? So I think he doesn't want to play that route, because it's going to affect him. You want that vote to be, you don't want it to be cancelled. You want it to be cancelled. So when you plead on that one, they will cancel it. And that will even be to the advantage of Tinubu. Tinubu is going to win this case. I'm looking at it, and some things they are bringing there, though I don't want to go into it. When you look at exactly what happened and the challenge based on the votes got on that day, it's very feeble. It's a feeble challenge, court challenge, if you ask me, then the Federal Capital FCT, based on the particular provision that was kind of a little confusing, okay, about and including. So the court is going to
give its interpretation
to that. But if we go by what the Constitution said, you know that FCT is not a state per se. So, and in the Constitution, there are some people I can't quote offhand now, that the FCT will be referred to as a state. So, and if you do not put that in proper perspective in that provision, it will be confusing. So I think what that place says is, you will, Abuja will play like any other state. Because I wonder why there will be any special status in Abuja. There shouldn't be. And statistically, it will even be wrong to put every power in Abuja. So that means if you win every state in the country and lose in Abuja, you can get 25% in Abuja. You can't be made president. Is that possible? So even common sense will tell us that it's not going to work. And that is the toughest challenge Obi has. And it's still working. Then you're talking about his issues of crime and returning of $150,000. And it is above 10 years. The Constitution contemplates anything within 10 years. So it's above 10 years. And you're bringing this in and wasting our time in court. I'm emotional about these things because we're expected a more tougher challenge with the retinue of sons he had. Read Olani Beku's own defense and his counter petition. Very straight, very succinct to the point. And you understand that this man has studied these things and he's hitting to a particular place. Now, our sentiments are now high. Every other Igbo man is expecting to win in court. Nobody is paying attention to the details. And it's worrying me. It's worrying me because it's affecting the way we take our institution, the way we see them. We're trying to write down the courts now. Nobody believes in the courts. They will say they will rig it. And it's worrisome. Because this week, if we cancel out of emotion, we now debase our institutions. They're not the best, I say. But it has not gotten to that level that a judge will come out today and give something that is which one will I use now? Something that will be questioned by an ordinary person. Okay, though there are technicalities. Remember, they say they are not going to use technicalities here, and I'm happy because most of the cases they had to move their challenges, their objections to the last day. So it's giving this court process a smooth ride, and I expect that to replicate in all the tribunals, all the states tribunals and the houses of assembly, and this. That will give us a better result. But I believe in the process. I believe in the Supreme Court. I'm watching it today. They're going to open up their defense, and I'm watching to see what will be their defense. Like Olani Beku is quoting section 77 that Obi doesn't even have a locus to even challenge this thing. So I'm looking at what the Supreme Court will interpret that section 77 to be. It's very controversial. So that's what we're waiting on.
In a build-up to those expectations, that's why we're having this conversation, just to be able to, prepare the minds of Nigerians across board. It's Standpoint on Rapid 96.5 FM. We'll take a quick breather. And when we return, we'll continue the conversation. Do stay with us.
Make your paint house with Cyclops. The beauty will last year because Cyclops.
My guy, which kind of paint have you used? We go make my house go well.
Now Cyclops paint.
Paint we go make my house shine.
Cyclops paint.
What about paint we go last for plenty years?
Now still Cyclops paint. Cyclops paint. Now ogbonge paint when done with both national and international award on top paint matters.
I beg, where them day?
Them day nationwide. Cyclops paint get one ogbonge what they call Cyclops satin paint. If dirty touch the paint, you fit use water and soap take clean and cha-cha. Cyclops paint get other ones like emulsion paint, test coat, gloss, sack flash car paint, matte, industrial marine coating, red oxide primer, aluminium, speedy paint, auto varnish, and other barbarous products. For that correct beauty, paint where you need na Cyclops paint. Their price na shipping. For more information, call
0701 855 2224.
Celebrating your family and friends has become cheap like a cup of tea, easy as ABC, and rapid like it should be. You can send birthday greetings and goodwill messages on Rapid FM for just 1,000 naira. Other events like weddings, child dedication, housewarmings, religious and government functions go for even less, 500 naira. Now, your loved ones have no excuse not to celebrate you rapidly on your day because all they have to do is visit our website at www.rapidfm965.com/request or call 07049 220965.
Let's talk politics, dynamics, and permutations.
It is a concern that we have for our country, Nigeria. This is beyond partisan politics. It's unfortunate. And these are the kind of people who say that leaders of this country. What example are they showing as leaders of the country?
Let's keep you abreast with the happenings in the polity.
Nigeria is on drink and on oxygen. And how can we get out of this?
I am an employer of the president. I pay the president's salary. I pay the bills of his family. And he must protect me.
Standpoint. The center of all talks of politics.
Standpoint, Monday to Friday, 10 a.m. on Rapid 96.5 FM, Umahia.
More Nigerian is more Nigerian than any Nigerian. That's right.
Thanks for staying with us. It's still Standpoint, special focus edition on Rapid 96.5 FM, the sound of your city. I am Camion John, the beloved, also known as the controversial. And as I said, it's a special focus edition of Standpoint as we review the big stories that occurred during the first half of the year, January to June 2023, with of course, bias for the lessons of the 2023 general election, the country's new presidency, leadership of the National Assembly, the ongoing election petition tribunal over the outcome of the elections, and of course, the task ahead for the new administration, both at the state and federal levels. My guests this morning are Eric Ukwagu, the chieftain of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, and of course, public affairs analyst Kelechi Imo. Now, after a careful review and analysis of the general elections, I have identified three specific lessons the federal government and Nigerians could learn from the 2023 elections. Now, these lessons which flow from the critical challenges we encountered, and thank God Eric mentioned one of them much earlier, tribalism and nepotism. The 2023 elections in Nigeria were crucial as they offered the opportunity to strengthen the country's democracy and address various prevalent issues that have been worsening for years. But the Nigeria, as a nation of many paradoxes, most people made decisions based on primordial sentiments of their connection to candidates, specifically through ethnic and tribal relations. Now, for years, Nigeria states based its ideology on the ease of religion and ethnicity, and we must restructure these notions away from our minds because this trip will take us nowhere. Let me start with you, Kelechi. Now, let's use the elections here in Abia as a case study. Were there really tribal sentiments? Because I've heard Abians say that previous elections had a tone of tribal ethnicity tied to it. But was it different in 2023?
Well, every politics is local, and for me, in my own view, 2023 elections was basically about competence. Okay, people didn't really mind where he came from. What people were looking for, somebody who could solve the Abia problem, and I think that was largely influenced by what has been in Abia prior to this time. Even though I keep saying that it's too early to start judging to start assessing the current administration. However, I think that 2023 general election was purely based on competence. The other people woke up and said enough is enough, and God was kind.
Eric, ethnicity and tribalism are two weapons politicians have successfully deployed to win elections and most times cause havoc. Before the elections, Nigerian politicians use ethnicity to divert our attention from the fundamental issues surrounding our nation. The election became a Yoruba, Hausa, and Igbo affair. Lagos, as a case study, which formerly used to be the center of unity, was manipulated and weaponized with the ethnicity playing card to win the sympathy of Lagosians. That, in effect, doesn't that in a way robs the 2023 election of some form of authenticity, some form of purpose?
I think it has become part of us to pander to sentiments of religion and where we come from. It has always defined us as a people, even in our social life. Even in the 21st century? Surprisingly, yes. Even in our social life. I've always argued that there should be total a removal of when you want to fill any official form, you will be asked to fill in where you come from and your religion. I think those things still create those barriers, those very visible barriers of limiting barriers, so to say. Now, in Lagos State, after the 2023 election, you will find out that anything that happens now is attributed to ethnic sentiments. Like the issue of some shops in Alaba being demolished. If you have been to Alaba and you will see very old, very, very old buildings. You know, it wasn't a standard market at its where. They are trying to get it to where it should be. So they said it's about 12 shops that was marked for demolition. And those 12 shops are structurally bad. And the issue didn't start from 2023. It's been there. They've been giving sales and sales of notices. I know our Igbo people. But now the hammer was down. And what we now hear is they are trying to, because they didn't support the government of the day, that is why they're trying to victimize them. And that has been my fear. Whatever thing we do now tends to have that coloration. Because I didn't vote for Obi, because I voted for Obi, that's why they're being intimidating us.
During the voting in Lagos, we saw a situation whereby people were stopped from voting because they resembled Igbo people. It happened in Lagos.
I didn't want to. Yes, I understand all those things, but I don't want it to be carried beyond winning or losing an election. I think elections are gone. We have carried that baggage of being stopped on that day to the proper to living a life in Lagos. People are afraid. They will tell you. Even this Toyota market where they sell parts, people are still afraid that they ask them to leave on Monday. Ladipo. Trade fair too. And I know there was this time Ojukwu came when he was alive and told Igbos that you're making a mistake in trying to make the trade fair a permanent place. This is a temporary place that you're given to do business. Why put permanent structures? If you must do this, why not bring it down home? I was in that as panda when Ojukwu came that day. And Igbos, you know, we like to conquer territories. So today, everywhere is of very solid buildings, shopping malls by Igbos. And the government is reminding them, remember we had an agreement before now, and it is knocking on your door now. This will now take the coloration of ethnicity. Is it because we voted for Obi? Is it Igbos own Lagos? You are a Lagosian.
Yes, I am.
Once you leave, once is Christmas period, you understand.
Lagos becomes empty.
You can drive from Oshodi to Apapa, from Apapa with your eyes closed. Everywhere is empty. And Igbos showed their might in the 2023 elections, which was beautiful to show we are here. But what I found worrying is the way we went about it. We can achieve the same result without making so much noise about it. Remember, up in the north, they had more registrations. Even in the war-torn Borno, they had more registration. But our people came very close to the end of registration, and it became a social media sensation. Everybody running around complaining that they didn't allow us to vote. Something we would have started doing way back, calmly under the radar of the watching eyes of people around Igbos. We will have still achieved the same results by not really making that so much noise, but being very potent in our determination to make sure our brother, not even looking at him as our brother, at least painting him as somebody who has the competence to take the country. I believe Tinubu, seriously. But why I supported, surprisingly, Tinubu is because I've seen Tinubu transform people. I believe in human capital development. And I look at that and say, if this man has been able to dominate the system with his proteges, if he's able to, from limited to one particular party, and he has conquered the whole Southwest, and he has moved to the center and has doing it, and it's been 17 years planning. He was offered to be vice president to Buhari. He said no because of this particular intention. So it will be difficult, and Igbos will say only Shiwara before you will have more older ports than you know. So he has more older ports, he has experience on his side. So he used the PDP, divided them, worked on the G5 governors. So these are sentiments we didn't really look at. You know, we were not looking at just the OB. But I stepped back and said, there's something going on here. People are not really paying attention. Away from this social media thing. Remember, APC never had their pathway to the southeast. They've never had their winning here. So his worry was Atiku, who has the north now, because all this while has been Buhari on the ballot, and Buhari will draft Atiku at any time when it comes to the northern sentiment. So now Atiku is Buhari is no longer in the ballot. It should have been an easy slide for Atiku. But his worry is if he takes a chunk from the north and then gets the south, which is a PDP state, what happens to his ambition? Exactly. So they need to find a way to get people to start, you know, doing things, and nobody wants to believe it. That this rise we saw, we call obedient, was the creation of Tinubu political machinery. It's just what it is.
Wow.
They needed to, let me say this thing. Who would have believed that Wike, with all the support he gave Peter Obi, with all the vehicles and money he gave to the campaign, wouldn't support Obi at the end of the day? It was a game plan. They knew it, and the G5 governors knew already that Atiku wasn't going to win this thing. So they gave a demand that Atiku would have ordinarily given him to. Now today, Iyochai is no longer the chairman. So why didn't you do this before the election? So there's a lot of blames to go around. Why we blame INEC? We should look at the political actors and say we should have still beat INEC to their game if we had put our hearts together. Then the security is another area. And then public enlightenment. Let me say this before I stop this. INEC did so much work in voter education.
Yes.
Before the election, there was so much enlightenment. That was why people believed in the system. There were people came out to say, okay, this is going to be different. Yeah, but they didn't look at the glitches that could happen. Now you said, you are right when you said, yes, the technology was local, but it was mounted on Amazon systems. So we still have to defend on imported technology to get this thing working.
Exactly.
Now, when the Amazon lady came to testify during the presidential tribunal, she was asked a question. She said she came on her own. She ran election under Labour Party, but then she was asked if there could be glitches during. He said no. The only glitch they had was before, when it was test run. Okay, during that test run it was okay, but when Olanipeku cross-examined her, she mistakenly said, or maybe when you get cross-examined, you're boxed to a corner, and said you could still have problems of technical issues during that time. So that means in the eyes of the Olanipeku was able to push the woman to say that there should be substantial glitches during and after, or even before. So since it is technology, it could be manipulated. That is why the results too that was emanated from the polling units, the live result should have counted, because in the Electoral Act they never said that the electronic transmission will automatically discard whatever thing we do manually. They are supposed to work hand in hand, so that when you bring these results, you're looking at this one, you're looking at this one. It's okay. This one came from the field and it was satisfied by INEC too, and this one came from the transmitted result. So you can be able to look at them and make your decision. But then they didn't get the manual own. They were only dependent on the transmitted result, and that is the bane. And remember, Labour Party didn't have their agents in all the polling units in Nigeria, so it would be difficult to prove a case when you had almost 100 and something units you didn't man with your people. So where are you now going to get people who will testify? Where are you now going to get authentic results of what happened on those polling units? So that's the challenge.
Kelechi, in the 2023, let's look at religion romanticism, as the case may be. In the 2023 election, 3 candidates from the nation's 3 major tribes enjoyed wide popularity, right? Now, that brought to the fore the sense of rivalry between the different ethnic nationalities in Nigeria. The APC's Muslim presidential ticket elicited widespread criticism across Nigeria, with groups such as CAN frowning at it, insensitivity to Nigeria's religious reality. Now, the Rivers State Governor, Nyesom Wike, who's been like a major player during the 2023 election, criticized the move by the People's Democratic Party, PDP, to produce another president from the north. He called it another Muslim ticket to the All Progressive Congress, APC. Wike cautioned those who claimed that Nigeria is ripe for a Muslim ticket not to justify and embrace the efforts at restraining the presidency in the north. He maintained that those involved in such misinterpretation or misrepresentation are deceiving, gullible of a few misguided, misusing the sensibility of compassionate Nigerians who want a united country that advances national cohesion. But with religion generating so much passion, the disunity among Nigerians has found full expression as we pitch the country as a battleground between Christians and Muslims.
Well, I saw that. This issue of religion is unfortunate. Truth be told, 2022 elections brought a lot of religious sentiment. Religious actors went to the extreme. It was to the extreme. Christians were seeing the Muslim as their enemy. Muslims were seeing the Christians as their extreme enemy. So the way some of our religious actors handled it was not fair, because coupled with the fact that some of the political elites also, from their actions, though may not be intentional, also proved that indeed these things are there. Added humor, added salt to the already existing injury. So I think the country is highly polarized, okay, and some of our religious actors and political elites should find a way to tune down on how they try to make religious statements and sentiments, because you found out that
is it more about the religious sentiments or statements, or the fact that politicians consistently play this card?
They play this card because it works for them, and it's still working for them. Okay, Tinubu took what's his name, Shetima, because he wanted to get the north. That's purely religious sentiment, because he knows that he couldn't have won the election without the help of the north, and fortunately he still made it to the villa. Okay, and nobody is saying anything. Nigeria has not really collapsed as the way, this imagination, the way this thing was happening at the initial stage. You saw that, if this thing ever happened, Nigeria will collapse.
No, but Kelechi, why are Nigerians so gullible? Why do we think that even in the 21st century, despite all we have been through as a nation, that yet religious romanticism, religious sentiment will always put us at the brink of destruction?
I don't think it's about Nigerians being gullible. It's about our leaders using us, especially a section of us. Down south, you discover that these people don't really play religious sentiment here. Down south, what we actually look at is individuals. Okay, because the question we'll always ask is, if this person was a Muslim and if this person was a Christian, what have we really benefited? Okay, just like what was happening in Abia in the last election. People were talking about equity. And we say, okay, in the last 24 years, what has equity really given us? It can start from anywhere this time. It can start from the north, it can start from the south, it can start from the middle, central. And people will see anybody.
So you're saying, like in a place in Abia, where it is said that there was some kind of understanding as to how the political mapping should be done, you know, that the people decided to jettison that political mapping, all in a bid to be able to achieve, to eventually begin to get the dividends of democracy.
I agree. This was simply what happened in Abia. People did not play politics based on where they came from. People played politics because they felt that this guy was the right chap for the job. And at the federal level, I believe that people voted based on conviction. Yes, a good number of us, which I'm also involved, believed in the man Peter Obi, because I didn't believe in him because he was an Igbo man. Not really. I believed in him because he had the capacity, and what the things he was saying was what we wanted to hear. Are you getting it?
Okay.
And that was why we all gave him the support. However, I blame our religious leaders because some of them, in fact, most of them went overboard. And when I talk about the religious, I'm also talking about Christian
religious leaders. Yeah.
Most of them went overboard with their statements, and some of them seeing the
visions,
and as witchcraft,
prophesying.
So some of these things, okay, in a country that is highly polarized like Nigeria, so I think that we should be a little bit more courteous in addressing these issues, because issues of religion has to do with the heart, and it has to do with emotions, and we just have to pamper it in a way that it doesn't look destructive.
All right, Eric, one thing we should have talked about, though you touched on it a bit, is the BVAS and ballot box snatching. Now, the general elections held in 2023 were marred by violence in some parts of the country. The situation led to the loss of lives and disruption of the voting process in many areas. In some states, the INEC postponed and rescheduled elections. We don't really have much time, but what's the take home from that experience that we should learn from as far as the 2023 election is concerned?
Okay, for me, I think it will always get better.
Okay.
It is not the end of the road for Nigeria. I still believe in a Nigeria that is a work in progress for us. And there is no how you can divorce these sentiments, okay, in our politics. It is part and parcel of us, religious and ethnic.
So we should admit to it, accept it,
yes, and
then find workable solutions.
Yes. We cannot import what happens in America or Europe down here. We must find something consistent, okay, with our local realities. There is no how region or zone didn't play a role in 2023 the election in Abia. We lost our forerunner, our fourth runner candidate, Professor Iko, at a very bad time of the election. And the PDP candidate at that point couldn't have muzzled up and moved because it was just less than a month to the general election. So you would have understood that nature played us a bad one, and it hampered what it was supposed to be our winning. So it will be erroneous to say the campaign of Elektote did magic. Fate gave them that advantage, and they really took it. But there are pockets and pockets of, say, complaints that which the court is going to deal with. We are still waiting. What I'm saying is, there are lots of people from my side, where I come from, who said that, or who believed that it should be the turn of an Abia North man. And they voted based on that. And no matter how, Alex is a very clever man. You know, the Arochukwu people see him as their son. Abia North people see him as their son. And he's still from Ngwa too. So he has this general acceptance from Abia North. So when they say it is Abia North time, he's still our son. Okay? While he's playing his Abia Central politics, Abia North people can readily embrace him to say he's our son. There are three major political parties. You had YPP there, there was LP then, and ABGA. Okay? Now, Alex Otti had the advantage of experience. He has run the election 2-3 times. So he understood, it's all about coming to make noise. He understood how to now use the opportunity that the death of Ikone provided to galvanize and move in. And it worked for him. Smart move, I will give it to him. But the sentiments of him being an Abia North was part of what assisted him. Professor Gregory Ibe He's a pure Abenot man, but you know the party strong enough to have moved. Okay, it wasn't that strong. Abga didn't show a strong this in the first election, so it affected their second election. So Governor Alex Oti being a smart politician with experience, casting on it, played the Abenot sentiment, and he won all the local governments in Abenot, at least on the face value for now, based on what INEC released the result. So it's still that sentiment that we're not going to vote anybody from Ungwa. We're going to vote somebody from. So I think the best way to do is, even if you're coming out as an Ungwa candidate or Abenot candidate, be accepted, and make sure you are seen as one who can carry everybody along. That is the fear. If I see, like Professor Ikonne, I was very close to Professor Ikonne, very, very, very close to him. So if he had won the election, he wouldn't see me as somebody from Abenot. He would have been, he was intentional about using more people from Abenot, persons who are not so much embedded in the old system. It was like he wanted to create a new order. Alex Oti is doing it, yes, but with the extreme. I think he needs to scale back a little. You need to scale back a little and look at the system. Yes, he has where he's headed to. Yeah. Which, when you look at it holistically, there are issues here and there he needs to tackle. Local problems are solved with local solution. If you import solutions from outside to cure a local problem, it no go work. There will be issues. I pray for him. While we wait for the outcome of the tribunal, we see our governor today, and we wish him the best. And our duties to him is to keep him on check. Okay, you didn't do this well, oh. You're doing this one well. You didn't do this one well. And if he gets it right, it's for everybody's benefit. Like yesterday, I was moving towards Bende Road, and I heard they were kidnapping somebody. I ran. He wasn't there. So when I complain about security, it's not about pulling politics. It's about the reality of the city we are living in. If a straight bullet hits any person, you die. Your family loses. It is an Abian that dies. So when we say these things, we are not really. Nobody sees. I worry when people see opposition as hateful, as being antagonistic. It is good, as I always say, to keep leaders in check. When you give them open check, as in to sign on, they will make a lot of mistakes and see themselves as all-knowing. But when they see people kick here and there, like there's been these issues of finances that has entered the state, and we're asking, we didn't have such privilege, or rather, the opposition, the Labour Party opposition that played yesteryears, didn't have this advantage to know when monies enter system. But now, because we've been there as a PDP, we know when money enters. You can put it in check and say, hey, there's money here. What are we doing with it? It will even help him perform well, so that tomorrow, if he asks for the mandate of the people, they will freely give it to him. It will no longer be a struggle. But when they keep telling you, don't worry, Azu did it 100 years ago, did it 1 million years ago, and you think you're doing it right. If you watch what is happening, if you're a keen observer, there is this drop. There is this reduction in expectation. People are like, wow, is that what we are talking about? Go to Aba today. I was in Aba the other day, and the expectation, people are saying, we don't think they happen. No. Now, it should have been the first few steps, like I said, should have taken you that height, Then when you started wobbling, people will say, don't worry, he will adjust. But that excitement, that's, joy that brought him in, the reality is kicking in, and I'm sure as a human being, he's beginning to see, there are flaws in the system, and you need to step on toes. And it's I don't envy him, to be very frank. You need to step on toes to reform the system. Very, very difficult.
Well, thank you so much, Eric. And in the words of Kelechi Imo, still very early. There's so much ahead, and he's taking his time. We've seen some deliberacy on the part of the Alex Oti-led administration to try to steer the ship in the right direction. Well, at this point, I really want to say thank you so much to Eric Ukagu, the PDP chieftain and friend of the house, and of course, Kelechi Imo for making out time to be part